Luca Nation, first off, I hope you guys are loving this National Treasure series. It's been a lot of work. I got to give a shout out to our guests who are so easy to schedule with, so easy to get on the show. Thank you guys. Thank you all of you for listening. It gives us the opportunity to bring on special guests. If there's one guest, and we haven't had this gentleman on, so this is going to be fun, that has come super highly requested by our audience, is Backyard Breaks. And I think the reason is we all want to get a peek under the hood. We want to see how the sausage is made because we see it from, our perspective, entertainment. The kids love them, throwing giveaways, all this stuff, doing a ton for the community, but we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. I hope you guys get a little bit of perspective here today on Backyard, their experience at National, how they built this juggernaut of a breaking business, and most importantly, what they're doing to give back and what the future holds. So without further ado, Nick Telford, CEO, founder of Backyard Breaks. Welcome to Lucas Tigers and Bronze Oh My show.
Andrew, what an intro. Thank you, man. Really appreciate you guys having me on. Like we kind of talked about off camera. First real interview I think anyone from Backyard has done. So that's just credit to what you guys have built, the kind of show you run, the content you make, everything A to Z, I think is just world class. So I'm happy to be here and talk to you guys. I'm excited for this.
Mind if I start out with a story? So Luca Nation, yeah. I was just like you guys, okay? Moved from Mexico to Florida. It's like, who are these Backyard guys taking over the hobby? I don't even break.
Wait, so who was in Mexico and moved to Florida? Was Backyard a Mexican operation?
Yeah.
I moved from Mexico to Florida.
Oh, it's you said
when I moved to Florida, like I'll slow down.
I'm lost already.
Yeah. No, that was a good catch.
I heard about these Backyard guys. And a friend of mine came down and he was like, hey, you want to go to a Heat game? The Heat were in the playoffs. I think they were playing the Celtics. I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, I got this other friend, he wants to go too. That other friend ended up being Nick. So you own Backyard? You're not at all how I expected. Thoughtful, growth mindset, reads books. No, this is a God honest truth.
Reads books.
Reads books.
Yeah.
I never learned to read.
Book. So we go to the Heat game, and the first quarter, I brought a Tyler Hero card with me, right? First quarter, there's a kid behind us wearing a Hero jersey. So I turn around, I hand him the card. I was like, you want this? He's like, yeah. Oh my God, this is so awesome. I'm always on Whatnot. I was watching, people pull the triple logo, man. I love these Backyard guys. This is like a 10-year-old kid with his dad. And I was like, well, you want to meet the person who runs Backyard? And it was you. And the excitement on that kid's face. Nick, do you remember that?
Wild experience. Wild experience. Yeah, that kid's actually been in my DMs ever since. He's been trying to meet back up at Heat games and like the whole playoff run ever since, every single night. That was amazing to meet him. And like then we took a picture and then I look at you and I think you were like, did you plant that kid here? And I was like, no, like that was organic, that was natural. But yes, that's a true story. That was a phenomenal night. I think the Heat won that night too.
They did,
if I recall. It was a
huge
good game.
Third quarter comeback. Remember, like a 25 to 4 run. Awesome night. But the point was, and it's hard to kind of capture these experiences, but like as much as we've heard things about Backyard, the joy that I saw in the kid's face, front and center, it shows that you guys are doing something right. So like if you could take this moment, Nick, how did you guys start Backyard? Right? Like I think a lot of people out there are wanting to know the origin story. How did Backyard start?
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah.
Origin
story. Yeah, you're a big origin story guy from what I've listened to for sure. But yeah, I'll take you guys through some of it. So let's say, all right, so my background and one of our other co-founders, Mike, we actually were in the oral care industry, funny enough. So we were running a mouthwash company right out of college, kind of bootstrapped it up, got an investor, ran it for a little bit, didn't work out. Then we moved on to teeth whitening strips, funny enough. So if you guys are familiar with Dollar Shave Club, half the cost of razors direct to your door. You don't have to deal with the cage and the employees and opening the keys and all that stuff. That was our concept for teeth whitening strips. We found a supplier to make great quality teeth whitening strips for half the cost, a quarter of the cost of those Crest ones you guys see in store. They're like $60. So we started selling a bunch of them like $25 direct to consumer. Did really well. went through a lot of ups and downs, grew a decent sized company, 20, 30 guys, but learned a lot throughout that process. And in the end, it didn't really work out with our investors and stuff. We didn't want to continue pursuing it. It wasn't really like a huge passion of ours. So we ended up leaving.
One of the things I know about Nick, just to cut you off, when he says did really well, this is 20-hour days, and they built this business zero to, was it 20 mil? 20?
Yeah, so, yeah, probably around like 18, 20 million run rate at the peak. During this was like early 2020, like peak COVID, when e-commerce was spiking like crazy, and everyone got home, and your grandma essentially learned how to use Amazon and everything like that. So it did well for a lot of online businesses, and it was a big grind, right? So it was just a lot of learning lessons. And during this time, my brother Grant, who a lot of guys see on the IG feed, our #1 breaker, main real face of the company, he decided to start a company called Backyard Athlete. And the concept of this company was to sell mini frisbees and other little backyard games to people who are sitting at home who didn't want to come in contact with other people because of COVID. So they can get athletic, they can get outside, they can do stuff in their backyard with their families in a safe space. So we ended up moving on, transitioning from the teeth whitening company to Backyard Athlete. And we start doing decently well again. Same thing, some digital ads. We're running it. We grew a very large TikTok audience throughout. So
best hands on TikTok is how they call this guy.
Yeah, best hands on TikTok.
Debatable.
Yeah, debatable. He gets out. Actually, it's real. It's almost real. Like a lot of people say, first take. He gets it pretty close to first, second take every time. So we grew a large social media following through this. TikTok was massive. What we were doing was we were running ads for these products, but also Grant was going live every day and selling these little frisbees. They were $19.99. Buy 2 get 1 free. We were doing 3 for $20, and he was just sitting there selling frisbees to an audience of 15, 20 people on TikTok live all day long. Then we came up with the best hands videos, and the followers grew like crazy, right? We grew from 80,000 to like almost 1.5 million around that area. So it was like we started to get a large following in. But we thought we were going to be super passionate about this, as we were athletes and we like to do, sports and outdoor things. And we thought we were going to sell to, 13 to 18-year-old guys and have a lot of fun content with them. But what ended up happening is we ended up selling to 40 to 45-year-old moms who were buying for like their 6 to 8-year-old kids. So it was like just a weird marketing approach where now we're getting moms in, we're doing, and don't get me wrong, we were having like a good time, but it wasn't like as passionate as we thought it was going to be, like really sports oriented. So this is now January, February 21, and we start seeing breaking, right? We start seeing sports cards. We used to have cards when we were kids, and we see guys, like Leighton, guys like Blaise, guys like Pullwax breaking all of our feeds. We're like, what is this? So we start getting into some breaks, and I liked it, but I didn't love it because I would get into the breaks and I would get bored. I would either fall asleep, I'd put my phone down, I'd go outside, I'd go to the gym, I would do whatever. And I would just like tell the breaker, ship the cards. I don't know what happened. I hope I did well. And then we start talking like, man, there's got to be a more entertaining way to do this. Like, this is a show, what these breakers are putting on. And we're like, I don't even think they realize that they're putting on a show and that they're entertaining an audience of not only buyers, but viewers as well. So we're like, if we came in with more of our social media style that we've learned how to gain audience and make some viral clips and bring that over to this industry, we think it could make a huge impact. And it was sometime in April 21, we just cold turkey switched. We went complete from Backyard Athlete to Backyard Breaks, tried to send as many followers over as we could. And within the first week, I was like dressed up as Undertaker, blowing smoke on the boxes with the ring, with like the disco lights going in the room, trying to entertain the crowd. And then that right there, that whole backstory was the official birth of Backyard. And since then we've been running with it ever since.
And I mean, it helped that the first break, and they were bringing over an audience of 40-something-year-old moms. It helped the first break. They hit a huge Zach Wilson.
I knew.
I saw his face with the moms. I knew he was ready. I was gonna make the Zach Wilson comment. I was gonna make it first and get out in front of it. but I wanted to let you have that one case.
So listen, Nick, that's not the origin story. So there are people out there listening to this who are old, like me, right?
Yeah.
And I've never referred to myself as an entrepreneur, right? And it's funny because I listen now, Josh Luber we had on, I mean, everybody, it's entrepreneur, right? Eddie from Investacard. Oh, entrepreneur, he says it differently. But it's funny how he says it, actually. So anyway, so I used to set up my cards in at a table on Broadway, so the stockbrokers would come by when I was in high school. But I was having fun. I was a kid. I was making money, and I take it to college and the whole deal, right? What went wrong? Who dropped you on your head, or what went right, depending upon who you're asking? I listened to the story, and I don't hear I went to college. I don't hear my what I was supposed to do is I graduated high school, and then because this is what the world tells me to do, I went to college and I'm striving to be middle management. I'm selling mouthwash. I'm selling teeth whitening strips. I'm selling Frisbees. Like, that's the origin story. Like what happened there? Are parents that own a business? I mean, because to me, this is the fun part of an episode, because this is foreign to me. This is by the way, I love the hobby. I love cards. I love Ken Griffey Jr. and I love all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing in the last 2 years of attaching myself to this lunatic over here is learning that there's different ways to go about your life. And there are people listening to the episode who are hearing this, and I think they're going to be, they're going to be energized by it, and they're going to hear that there's a success here. It wasn't a straight line success.
Yeah.
But where'd you get it in your brain? Like, okay, I'm going to sell mouthwash. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, it's actually so funny that you said that, because me and my brother, I feel like just came out of the womb for some reason, just like really wanting to be an entrepreneur. Like, it's so weird, but like our parents aren't like that. Like, my mom was actually a professional tennis player. She played Wimbledon, did the whole thing. So That's like our athletic side. And then my dad was a medical sales rep for Johnson & Johnson for like 25 plus years, super corporate. And growing up, it was like, hey, same thing. Go to college, get a good job, work your way up the corporate ladder, provide for your family, pass on to your kids. But I think a little bit, even with our generation too, I don't know if it's the Gary Vee effect. I don't know if it's just Instagram, Facebook, Twitter in general, the access of information for the younger generation to pursue their passions instead of just following the guideline that's laid out for you in life. I feel like there's more entrepreneurs with each increasing generation, because people can see how powerful the internet can be for them and what they can do to use it. Like, back in the day, if you wanted information, you got to go to the library, you got to check out a book, you have to learn from a teacher, you have to study a craft for a while. And then if you want to market, you're putting out billboards, you're putting up signs. Today, information's on the edge of your fingertips wherever you look. Blog posts, media feeds, you can follow podcasts, content creators, everything. And you can absorb that and try to use that to your advantage. And the internet's like the biggest microphone that's ever been here in history. So sometime in college, I decided, I actually did my first internship, suit and tie, whole thing. I was a sales rep, making calls, cold calls all day long. And I was like, the cubicle, the whole nine, everything you picture a corporate 9 to 5. And coming out of the internship, I was like, there's no way I can do this till I'm 65 or whenever I'm going to retire. And I kind of made a decision then, if I'm going to do something, I got to start something on my own. And then that just led to the mouthwash tea. And then it kind of just spiraled from there. I wasn't like super passionate about the oral care industry per se coming out of college, but it was something that I could apply my passion for being an entrepreneur, problem solving, putting processes in place, and scaling a company too. Now in sports cards, the passion's like here and the entrepreneurship's here. So every day just feels like a dream. And I've heard everyone say it, obviously, but it's just the most fun I've ever had doing something. So.
I mean, it shows. And what's funny is if you listen to this, and you watch these guys, and we could talk about, some of the other stuff. I'll let Andrew do the episodes. We talk about how baseball is going to die. We talk about how, Andrew said, well, we talked about it. It was your point, but and a lot of it is just that baseball doesn't keep up with the times, right? And that baseball is a little boring. It's more old fashioned. It's more, my generation and older. And basketball is quicker, and football is quicker, and people about more entertaining. And look at what, like, wrestling. I used to watch wrestling in the '80s, and it was a very different sport than it is now with all the flair. Get it, Ric Flair? So,
Yep.
but you know, what I just heard is if anybody has a problem with the way that Backyard Breaks is doing business now, or the success that Backyard Breaks have, they need to look no further than the Mirror, because the hobby was very much like baseball. And the hobby
Yep.
was doing things the way they were doing. Breaks were doing things the same old way. And you saw an opportunity. And you said, you know what? Just like Whatnot is now trying to do social selling, right? Just like these apps are trying to bring data into the future instead of just, a Beckett magazine, with a monthly, you
Yep.
said, I'd love to break, but I don't want to fall asleep. So I'm going to entertain people. I'm going to provide it because what's subtle about this, Nick, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, right? I'm usually not, but you can tell me I'm wrong. The biggest criticism I had about breaking, and why I said to Andrew, well, we shouldn't do breaking, why it's not our brand, right, is that we want to provide value for everybody who's a part of our audience, right? And breaking, I always would say, was 80% of people who get in breaks are probably going to lose money. There's only a small amount who are going to hit it big. There's some people, might break even. But breaking, by and large, it's not a money-making proposition for the majority. But you know what? Neither is going to a Broadway show, right? People lose money every time they go to a Broadway show. They spend the money on a ticket. They get there, you name it. But they leave that Broadway show entertained, right? They don't look at it the same way that would look at breaking or gambling,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what you've done is you've combined that entertainment. You've combined a value of, hey, maybe I'll get in a break and maybe I'll lose, but I'm not going to leave the break saying I lost money because these guys found a way to entertain me. These guys, I got some value out of it, even though I didn't get the cards I wanted. Shoot.
You know when that really hit home for me? So I followed them on Instagram, and whenever they post a big hit, I go to the comments, and people on there say, I was there. And that was a real interesting moment because it wasn't someone who won the card that got the benefit. It was the person who was in the room watching it pulled. And that was when it was like, oh, that was the aha moment for me.
Exactly. Yeah, a big part of it, like you said, the Broadway show thing, that's actually a great analogy with the entertainment. But that also applies to the 98% of the people in the stream who aren't paying $1, right? So we actually cater sometimes even more so to the viewer than the buyer because we're putting on such a good experience that we become a part of people's daily viewing habits, right? And they're all there for free because when we run our main shows, Twitch, TikTok during the day, sometimes we have 4,000, 5,000 people, concurrent viewers sitting in there. How many people are in on a break? 8, 16, 32, right? That's a max. Most of the time it's 8 for some of our big divisionals in the day. So then you have 4,500, 4,900 people in there just watching because they're entertained. And something that we do that's a little opposite of the industry, and this is just kind of how we started. I think we were almost even naive at times. Is if you talk to any big breaker, they'll tell you the best time to break is at night, right? Probably 9 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern is the peak because then you get West Coast guys getting off of work too. But what we did is different. We almost treated it like a 9 to 5 right out of the gates. And we started our breaks at 9 a.m. on the dot every day, Monday through Friday. So what that did is give people a source of entertainment and almost an escape from their life at that time. So we get hit up by truck drivers. We get hit up by accountants. We get hit up by every corporate job where the truck drivers just listen in the car every day while they're driving. Your standard CPA has spreadsheets up on one screen, but have Grant and Nikki streaming on Twitch on the other screen because it's during their routine now. And people just look forward to at 9 a.m. we're going to send out a notification and there's a show waiting for them that they know will be there. And we've never missed a day or been late in the existence of Backyard, 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. And I think it's just ingrained in people's habits now.
I'm glad you guys on the other end are getting a chance to get the behind the scenes because what we all have our, perceptions. But when I heard this story and learned it, it took me. And I want you to share a little bit about this. And I'm going to be honest, I stole this from you guys. So on our Whatnot show, I always ask our audience to share their wins. And for the first hour, 9 to 10, you guys aren't actually breaking anything. Can you talk to us about what Grant and Nikki do?
Yeah. So for the first hour of the day, it's just talking about, a lot of it's actually talking about mental health and awareness. A lot of people will share stories of what they've been going through, something that's been on their mind. It's a very safe space to just unload any stress that people have had. And our chat, especially our Twitch chat, is a very, very, very tight-knit community where we always hear stories about people becoming friends through our chat and talking to each other. So that first 9 to 10 is really just talking about what's going on in their lives. I'm on there sometimes. I'll probably pop in once or twice a week kind of thing. But it's really Grant and Nikki talking about their lives, what's going on with the company, what we're looking forward to, any stories that happen to them. We play in like rec leagues. We talk about the football games, basketball games. Then the chats share all stories of what's going on in their lives. They have any positive message. We get a motivational message every morning from Ant Nauer. Shout out Ant. Every morning at 9:05 a.m., a whole way to start the day, finishing with how you doing, how you been, and the whole chat goes crazy. And it's just like, it feels like family for that first hour. And there's nothing to even really do with breaking, taking in money, or doing anything. It's just talking with the people. That's an awesome way to start the day.
It's pretty cool. And Cage, I just want to, and we'll get into national here in a second.
Yep.
You got to understand with business, we were promised, at least this is how I feel, the American dream, right? You work hard, you save up, go to college, and you get a high paying job. But you poll most Americans, they don't have any savings. So you think of going into being an entrepreneur as like a cause, but it's a symptom of this was the only path left. There is no other path to wealth other than taking risk and starting something for yourself. And that's why I think when you see other people going through it, like it's funny, people see Backyard, but I wish there was a vlog that when you guys were doing the whitening strips and all that, and the long nights and the failures and the struggles and the lack of, confidence of like, can we do this? People don't get to see that. They only get to see, oh, these guys are doing well, and now they have a target on their back. So yeah. I'm curious how you feel about that, Cage, because my dad had owned a cafe, but he really just bought himself a job. Like we had these discussions.
Well, how I feel, I'm not
time.
asking it like, wow, this is crazy. Why don't you go out and get yourself a job? I mean, it's more of there are people out there who are listening who are probably at the whitening strip phase of their journey. There are people who are probably at the mouthwash phase of their journey. And not only are they going to hear you talk about how, you keep grinding, you keep doing it, but I'll throw into the mix that I have been a practicing lawyer for 21 years and change, and I still have student loans. So, yeah, my way of doing it may not be the right way. Your way might be. You know what I mean? So, and
I have a feeling the way this podcast is going, we're gonna get rid of those. Very soon.
Interest rate's very low, so I couldn't.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, it's like it's a little. I like cards better than paying off my student loan balance.
Yeah, there you go.
Part of my problem.
We'll get into national. They had an amazing event at Bally's. They turned up tons of people. We'll get into. I want to hear. This was your first national, so we hear about the experience. What would you recommend? Last question on business. Someone who is in that whitening strip phase, what would you recommend to them? Yeah,
it feels weird. It honestly feels weird giving advice because in my head, it feels like we're still at the starting line. You know what I mean? So it does feel weird being like, hey, like do this, do that. It's definitely a very much like teach their own. You really have to know yourself. But my number one thing was just, it sounds so cliche, but it was just like the never give up kind of attitude. Like it didn't matter what was going to happen. There was no other option. It's almost like a burn the boats mentality, right? If you're going to war and you're going in on boats, okay, and you get off on the island, but the boats are there for your escape, you're always going to be thinking in the back of your head, I could just get back on those boats and get off. But if you get dropped off and you burn the boats and there's no way out, the only way you're leaving that island is if you defeat your competitor, if you defeat your enemy in that situation. So I feel like I've always had a very burn the boats mentality where there was no plan B the whole time.
And I was comfortable every day, quit my job, I got to burn a boat. By the way, I don't know who you guys listen to.
No.
You listen to the same
there you go.
people.
That's why I'm smiling, because yesterday I was like,
burn the boats. And I'm like, no. Like, I got other people in my boat. I got a family in my boat. You know, like, I don't want to
Cage is a big boat. Cage is a big boat.
Hey, you call me fat.
You feel a little, it seems like you weren't too motivated for like this last thing. And you're like, Dude, I'm motivated every fucking day. I'm not a millennial. I don't need to tell you I'm motivated.
Yeah, I just need to tell you, like I am. I just motivated. But what's funny is that's a great answer, but I'm going to give you your answer because you already gave it in the first 25 minutes. You gave it 2 pieces for the people who are on the whitening strip phase. Number 1, show up every single day. The fact that you have not missed a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and you guys are on, that's consistency, right? Because there's no such thing as halfway crooks, right? And it's one thing to say you want to be an entrepreneur, but most millennials want to be an entrepreneur where they come up with a business idea and within 6 hours, someone has paid them $3 million for it. You have to do the work, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to steal the underpants. It's going to lead to profit. But number 2 is still missing, right? You don't have step 2, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, more importantly, is you didn't even realize you were saying it. I still feel like I don't want to give advice because I feel like we're in the beginning. That mentality is going to keep you working like you are not at the top. It's going to keep you doing new things, keep you ahead of the competition that's trying to gain on you. You are not resting on your laurels. You are not resting on your wins. Sure, you'll pat yourself on the back. You'll celebrate at Bally's. You guys will take care of your people. But if you continue to think, wow, we haven't won anything yet. We're still in the beginning. I don't even want to give advice. It's going to make it harder for people to catch you and pass you, and it's going to make your success a little more prolonged. So you've already answered the questions without even knowing.
That.
Cage,
you're good. I like
people might not know, and it's actually right under their nose. So we have an incredible hobby, and there's going to be businesses and influencers, all that succeed and fail. But they might not fail because of a lack of talent or skill. They might just fail. They're not in the right situation. And if you got to know the team of Backyard, Mike and Grant complement Nick really well. They were able to find superstars in their own niche. Like, I think Nick is an operations superstar. Mike is a creative genius. Grant is a personality, and they complement each other. And right under your nose, I mean, Shyway and Empire did that. If you kind of think about Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, right in front of our eyes, they've teamed up to build the best investment duo in history.
How did we go from Backyard to Warren Buffett in the same sentence? I like it though. I like when you're. But
how was your first national? What was your experience?
So now moving to national, right? It was incredible. Like it blew me away. So last year I couldn't go. It was around my girlfriend's birthday. We ended up taking a trip. This year I had to go. Unbelievable. Like walking into the show, so much energy. Like your heart and adrenaline's pumping the entire time. Like every person I talked to, so many supporters, and like everyone throughout like the quote unquote like hobby food chain, from all the customers to the distros to the wholesaler to the other breakers to the content creators, right, to the data platforms. Like there's so many things that make this hobby tick, and everyone all in one spot. It just is like a palpable energy. I'm sure you guys felt it too. To when you're leaving to go back to your hotel or wherever you may be going that day, probably dinner, you feel like you just left almost a war zone. Like you feel like you just got out of a 5-hour, 8-hour workout. Like my body was just drained every day, but like with a smile on my face of like, I got to go back the next day. And it was just, it was like almost overwhelming to a point. I just loved everything about it.
So 2 things. Number 1.
What did you write on your note?
I wrote
taking notes, Cage,
on stage. Just so I remember I asked. So, and I wrote a second thing. I'll tell you in a second. But on stage, you will not be in the same location ever again, because you were right near the main stage.
Yeah.
And I only know this because I was on stage, and I could see where you guys were, literally feet away from the stage. No one could hear anything that was going on the stage because you guys were causing a ruckus. Could you describe the ruckus, Andrew? Throwing boxes and just kids screaming and just like crazy, which, by the way, is awesome. But there's no way they're going to ever put you near the main stage again because, 1, you had 1,000 people and they had 4, right? So that's first. And second, like nobody cared what was going on stage because everybody was over there trying to get headbands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was like a very, very spontaneous moment that we had a wheel up and we were doing some wheels and spins for people. And then it turned into, hey, I want a free pack. I want this. I want that. So we started just chucking things out. all of a sudden the huge crowds come. We just kept throwing packs. Everyone wanted it. I felt bad not giving it to people. And then like 5-10 minutes in, I'm like, all right, I think this is a liability at this point. Like when I threw up a pack and I saw a 55-year-old father try to run over a 9-year-old kid to grab a Series 1
I'm sorry,
pack,
but I wanted that pack.
Yeah, I said, all right, I think this is over here and now. But yeah, that moment was a blast. And what actually I liked even more than that, because we were giving out a lot of free stuff, is when our entire team was there and we actually ran out of shirts, we ran out of headbands, we didn't bring enough stuff that the demand was too great. People were coming over just to talk to all of us. So we still had a sizable crowd with nothing to give out. It was just conversation after conversation with customers. I know Grant and Nikki were giving out a lot of autographs. Our other breakers were taking a lot of pictures. That to me meant way more than the huge crowds for the free stuff, because now we had a sizable crowd for just our personalities and people wanting to meet us.
Yeah.
That to me,
I mean, listen, that's awesome. The rest of my list is pretty straightforward. One, I second that. I mean, at your event at Bally's, I came up to the guys afterwards, after the crowd had dissipated. It was just those guys up there celebrating, and another night well done. I did not make fun of J-Mo not having a shirt. Only half of a shirt. I mean, I get it. It's part of the shtick. It is what it is. But I introduced myself. They didn't know who I was, I don't think. But I introduced
J-Mo
myself.
is the crown. Nikki is the ripped Popeye looking motherfucker.
No. But J-Mo is the one who had the bare midriff.
No,
right?
That's Nikki. That's Nikki with the crop top.
Bare midriff.
Nikki,
okay.
J-Mo's
the
logo man hitter. Yeah, they were both there. Yeah.
The two of them were there. I said hello to both of them, introduced myself, and said thanks for the invitation. I was one of the oldest people in the sports book watching the craziness unfold. I was happy to be invited. But everyone was having fun. And what's funny about that is, it leads into the second thing that I wrote down on my notes, and it's, we talk about like telephone tough guys, keyboard warriors. Anybody give you guys a hard time in person? Because one of the trends that we've given, we've heard a lot from folks is that when you're in person at the national, at these hobby events, the hobby beef, it vanishes all of a sudden. Mostly because I think people are very tough, on Twitter or on their keyboards. You get anybody come up to you and give you guys a hard time, or was it all love like it is all the time?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Obviously, I'm very aware we have a polarizing brand. We have lovers, we have people who love us to death, we have people who seem to hate us online. If you don't, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, exactly. It actually, it is interesting how it works, because those people that give us some hate online, it actually makes the guys who like us now love us, because now they're with us and defending us and part of our army. Where before it would be like it almost better to be that than just be like average, because then guys just like you. But our customers will really feel like they're a family, partly because of that. So yes, we see all the online comments, we see everything like that. In person, zero.
That's what I expected.
Yeah,
I asked the question, Andrew, without knowing the answer, but I had a really good feeling.
It was security who was like, it's 11:30, you need to get out of here.
Yeah,
that was the only person that stepped to us.
Yeah, the one security guy. That was through all breakers. Everyone with us, zero. Not one, and I asked everybody because I was curious myself. Not one single negative comment. All loves, all hugs, all asking for pictures. So, whoever is doing that online either wasn't there in person or, didn't say anything.
Well, listen, I say this, and there'll probably be people listening to us for the first time, because Backyard does bring a different audience also. Welcome to the show. We hope you're enjoying, our format, and thank you for joining us the, first time here. But I do tell this story when people come on and they're conflicted about, well, the people hate us. What do we do? Like Andrew, hey, this YouTube person, I got to respond right now. Why? Well, he's attacking Kobe. And I'm like, well, are you Kobe? Do you represent the estate? Like, what are you doing? Right. But it's a great scene. Yeah. Well, toughen up, Buttercup. So, but here's it's in Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie. And they're going through his numbers. And they say, the average Stern fan listens for 2 hours. And they said, really? Well, why do they listen for so long? And the answer given was because they want to hear what he's going to say next. But get this, the average Stern hater listens for 3 hours. And so what? Why? Why would the haters listen for more time than the fans? We asked that. Most commonly given, they want to hear what he's going to say next. Right. So it's okay. It's all right to have the folks, because, if somebody's commenting about what Andrew did wrong or said wrong, or what they perceived Andrew said or did wrong on the show, it means they're listening to us, and maybe they'll like the next show. I mean, it's not everyone's going to love every single thing you're doing, but I'm glad nobody kind of, caused drama and, continued the hobby beef in person.
Well, Cage, it's a fork in the road too, right? It could, if you don't have a strong foundation and you don't do things the right way, it could tear you down. The reason why I think I could feel comfortable is, like, I know that we give so much to our community. It hurts in the moment, but it doesn't hurt in the macro of, like, I know what our value system is, and I know what we stand for and what we've done for people.
Nick, I got to tell you one thing, and then I'll let Andrew get questions and the whole deal, and we can get back to the national. This is definitely national topic, but I don't know whether or not you guys saw it or realized it. People play roles in the hobby, and we're all trying to grow this hobby pie. We're all trying to bring more people in, keep people here, grow this way. Backyard makes more money, but so do all the other breakers. The auction houses make more money, you name it. And two things that I saw at this were really funny. I saw a kid leading his parents through the show, through the corporate section, and stopped dead in his tracks for a second when Dad, that's Ken Golden over there. It's Ken Golden, like he's a hobby celebrity. He's Ken Golden, snap a picture with a phone, like I'm standing like this, and Ken's in the background with his security. That kid, who's the future of the hobby, as he was telling his dad this, was wearing a Backyard Breaks headband. So
there you go.
You play a role, you know what I mean? And that's bringing new blood into the hobby. So it's a thank you for that. I mean, the Backyard Breaks headband it's a cool touch. It's something that was not at national in years past. It's something that I'm sure will be, what you're doing going forward. More shirts, more giveaways. It makes it a more lively event. Just it changes.
No, I appreciate you noticing that. It's actually one of the things we really pride ourselves on coming into this, was growing the pie of the hobby instead of operating with what was already inside of it, right? Because we use TikTok, we use Twitch, we use these other social media platforms to bring people who are your casual sports fans and turn them into hobbyists. You would not believe the amount of DMs that we get that say, I didn't even know sports cards was a thing until I found you guys, and now they're in the breaks. Or they knew sports cards was the thing, but never really were in on breaks, and now they're getting into them, and now they're starting to collect more, right? Like, a lot of our customers just come out of the woodworks. Like, they're not in the original pie to begin with. We're trying to just grow our own pie out of it. And then, there's a trickle down effect to that too, because we'll bring them in through TikTok and Twitch, bring them a part of our family, our community, and then send them over to Whatnot, which we have 3-4 channels over there. They'll get to our streams over there, and then they'll discover other breakers. And wherever they end up in the long run, they probably buy from multiple people, whatever personalities they like, and go from there and turn into a lifelong collector. If they're younger, grow up and continue to collect. If they're older and have kids, pass it down. I think that's what we all need to be thinking. Because who knows if the hobby stays like this hot forever, through the ups and downs, to continue to grow the amount of people interested in sports cards.
Market out, right, Cage? We had a guest on who talked about marketing out. How do you keep pulling such fire? Triple logo man, LeBron. Triple logo man, Curry, Clay, Dre.
Which, by the way, talk about growing the pie. Those cards have been sold, and the last time I checked,
you can buy 100,000 pies with the
right.
The
you don't have an auction house to sell them on. I mean, other hobby businesses got the benefit of you guys breaking those and have sold them and made money on those sales, right? So that is part of the whole growing the hobby pie.
And by the way, I heard someone say this, but I do want to know how you're pulling such fire. I'm not going to let you off the hook.
Real quick, just to go over the pulling fire, an hour ago, I'm just going to put this out there. We did hit the 101 Brady Shield out of Eminence right before I hopped on this. We just saw it happen. One of the product hits. Just going to put that out there and let you continue. That was a fun moment. Those are always fun moments.
I'm going
it's a perfect example. How are you guys pulling so much fire? How's that happen?
It's just a volume thing. It's funny. There's a lot of I've seen it. Yeah, right there. The Brady Shield 101 right out of Eminence. just happened. It was
These diamonds
that
are
was it.
guaranteed by Panini. It says it on
That
the
was
back
it,
of the
and
tag.
that's game worn. That's a game worn patch, which is nice. It's a volume game at the end of the day. I like the conspiracy theorists. We lean into it a little bit. People give us the Panini gives them juice cases kind of thing. I wish that was the case. If that was the case, why
Shared
break
my
with anyone
story.
else? You know, there you go, Andrew. Why break with anyone else? You know, good marketing for us. It's obviously not the case. It's just a volume game. We break a lot of product. You know, we don't necessarily post when we miss all the time. Obviously, we post when we hit. And on top of that, we have gotten pretty lucky. Honestly, we have gotten pretty lucky. It's volume, and then like almost in baseball, when you get on a hot streak, it's so weird. You just continue to go. It feels that way when you start hitting big cards. It just feels like you're going to continue to hit big cards.
The missing part, you know, people see the numerator, but they don't see the denominator, is people see all of the cards that are being hit, but they don't see the full volume of how much you're breaking, right?
Yeah.
The amount of money being spent on product juxtaposed against these big hits. And I mean, a perfect example, guys, for anybody who really does think it's a conspiracy theory, every once in a while, I'll go play lotto, you know, if the prize gets big enough. And I'll go to 7-Eleven, buy my wife a coffee, and I have to start talking about my wife more because at cigar event, people thought I was a single dad. So sorry, I guess I have to bring that up. So I get her a coffee. I got that a bunch of times. I feel really bad. But no, I'm married.
From our lady customers?
No.
Or from...
Cage is married.
Cigar night.
Were you wearing your wedding
always
band or not?
Doesn't come off. Never comes off.
There you go.
So it's always on. So but what's funny is when a jackpot's big enough, I'm online to spend my $2, to spend my $4. I'm always online behind somebody who's buying $4,000 worth of tickets. And you know, sometimes my $2 or $10, I get to come back the next day and I'll cash $5. Usually I don't win. I'll cash something though on my lotto. Maybe the quick pick will hit the right number. But you know who I have to wait for again? The guy who spent $4,000 on lotto tickets. He won something, right? Maybe he won 10 grand this time. Maybe he won 2 grand. But I got to wait for all those tickets to cash because they were doing a much bigger volume of lottery tickets than I was. It's the same premise. Question, because my phone battery is going to die. So we're going to let you go. We'll
hit me.
Give me a lesson learned from the Trevor Lawrence kaboom scenario. Give me a lesson learned from that for the company that maybe somebody else who's out there, you know, building a company that they may take a lesson from this.
Yeah. From that scenario, obviously crazy scenario. We were very young at that time when all that was going down. We've talked about it numerous times. You know, we didn't handle it the best way possible. Hand up. We've learned from it. We've grown from it. You know, it wasn't necessarily exactly like it was perceived, but we could have handled it a lot better. And coming out of that, we realized that operations, taking care of everything, being professionals behind the scenes, and really making sure every single customer is taken care of is priority number one. When all that was happening, just imagine from our end. So we get out around 1,500 packages a day. So now this is swirling online. We're still moving volume. If a top loader is even dinged, customers are asking for refunds. So if we're not on our absolute A game, a lot of people don't know this. We have 35 employees. We have 15 guys, almost 15 to 18 guys running fulfillment and customer service every single day. If we mess up someone's orders, if a card is scratched, if a top loader is messed up, anything happens, especially during that time, people are the first to point fingers. So lesson learned coming out of that is have your operations, have your back end, have everything in place, because a customer retained sometimes is better than a new customer earned. That really, really, really had us laser focus in on our operations and that side of the business. And we've been so much better since getting orders out almost within 48 hours now. We rarely get a missed card or any mistake, and when it happens, we replace it in high confident and move on to the next person. But that's what it takes these days to run a large breaking operation. I think that's what you're going to see at a more quote unquote mom and pop breakers as people start to scale their breaking operations, build bigger brands, and get more demand. It's now taking teams of 30, 40. You know, my goal is to get to 100 people. You know, and that's what at the beginning. That sounded crazy. You know, we're breaking sports cards, but people don't see all the stuff that comes into it behind the scenes.
2 quick questions, Cage. I hope your phone lasts, and then we'll let you go. This has been a pleasure. I think everyone on the other end of this episode is really, they're going to get some value. So, first question.
Then sorry, I had to ask about it. But you're good to answer. You can tell me you go piss off and don't stop the recording, whatever it is. I mean, it's one of those things that if we didn't ask, the audience would be like, "What the hell are they doing not asking?" But more importantly, I mean, you're good to answer it. But everybody makes mistakes, right? It's what you do when you learn from it. And I would say, by the way, if I were able to help with the answer, it's that sometimes the public perception, especially on the internet and social media, is not what actually happens. But what you learn from it is it doesn't really matter. Sometimes perception is reality, and you just kind of you're going to take your lumps on that one, and you're going to make sure that you're better going forward. And that's what I think you guys did.
Exactly.
As an older brother,
nail on the head.
What are some things that, and Grant, if you're watching, what's up, Grant? As an older brother, what are some things that people don't know about Grant?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay, I got one. Grant, growing up, was one of the quietest kids you could possibly meet. Probably until 17, 18. Like, if you would take him to any family gathering, doesn't say a word, kind of socially awkward, like would just stay quiet in the corner, big gamer, athlete and gamer, and just keep to himself. And then as he started hitting later high school and then moving to college, he just became super out of his shell and then turned into a natural born entertainer to when he was 18 years old, trying to be, the next Logan Paul, in making, YouTube videos and trying to do different things. But yeah, a lot of
none
people
of this surprises me. None of this.
Yeah,
I mean,
very, very quiet.
The kid, he plays with his frisbee in front of hundreds of people. I mean, it's a little weird. So,
we got to tell him that. That's so funny.
I'd love to have you on for a sequel. I think our audience would love you. I want to do something. Maybe you could help me. We have one of our audience members. Bless him. If you're watching, love you. He's in Korea. He loves you guys. Loves Backyard. I'm not sure if he likes Nikki or JMO. So in Korea, they've had 2 weeks of rain, nonstop. I don't know if you've seen photos. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
Keisha, have you seen photos?
Yeah. They're underwater.
I want to send him a care package, or I want to buy him a break with JMO or Nikki. I'll clarify. Any way you could help with that?
Yeah, 100%. Let's make that happen. DM the contact info. We'll get that done 100%.
Bless him.
That's easy money. That's easy money. Yeah.
Nick, I think what's cool about you is there's the side of breaking. Okay, you're part of the hobby. But what I've realized doing the show, we've done 670 episodes, is, okay, we're talking to the hobbyist, but there's also a lot of people on the other end who want to start a business for themselves. They want to live their life on their own terms. And just the way that Logan Paul might be an inspiration for your brother, I think you're an inspiration for a lot of young entrepreneurs in the hobby now. And I think that's pretty fucking cool.
No, that's definitely a compliment to hear. That's actually funny you say that. At National, we were getting crowded by a lot of people, but a lot of kids as well. And, I think throughout time, things change. And growing up in the 80s, whatever, the thing to be as a kid is a movie star. And then growing up maybe 2000s, a YouTuber. But now kids are coming up to me I want to be a breaker when I'm older. Cage just left with his phone. But I want to be a breaker.
His phone died.
Yeah. I want to be a breaker when I'm older. How crazy is that to hear that you have a 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid saying, oh, when I turn 17, 18, I want to be a breaker when I'm older. It's kind of, it's very hard to wrap your head around a statement like that. But we're already seeing what you said kind of in practice with what people are telling us.
There's the Spider-Man movie. I don't think it's Uncle Phil. I don't remember his name, but it's with great power comes great responsibility. And I think you know that. And I'm excited to chop it, a year from now, 5 years from now. You guys will have this episode as the inaugural episode, and you guys get to follow and track Backyard growth and the growth of you as a young entrepreneur. And shout out to the whole team. Mike is a star. Grant is a star. And I love what you guys are building there. So, Luca Nation, this was a treat for you guys.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm hoping this is the first of many. I had a blast doing this, and I want to do a bunch more. Shout out to everyone Backyard listening. And yeah, we just got to keep the blinders on like we talked about and keep building the best business we can and doing right by our customers.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.